What?
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Daughter Mama Dialogue with Caira and my co-host.
Momma Cat.
Why are you pointing at me? So today, before we get into today's topic, we're going to talk about what our obsessions have been so far. What's been interesting, basically. You want to go first?
Sure. Okay, so I'm sorry. Okay, so today I was actually in on a session that was hosted, actually a session for Top Actor Studio, which is actually on Instagram, I guess, and actually got to listen in on our Cleveland zone, Kevin Taylor. He's a filmmaker out of the Cleveland area. And the Top Actor Studio event was posted on GCUF, which is Greater Cleveland Urban Film Festival, which I really adore. And so it was really exciting. There was a lot of interesting information on navigating the actors world.
So was it like a panel or like a Zoom panel, or you said, what was it?
Yeah, it was a Zoom panel. You could speak directly with the actors. Christopher Duncan was there. Jennifer Fouché was there. Alyssa and James from Top Actor Studio, and Kevin Taylor from Cleveland. So that's one thing. The other thing is totally unrelated. The struggle with the pandemic weight. I've decided to stop, because that ain't funny. It's a lot of y'all struggling up there with me. But I think I may have figured out the key to my healthier weight loss, which is something that I actually did. Oh my goodness, this is dating me. Probably some time ago. I'm not going to say a number of years, but I had lost 25 pounds. It seemed like it was like that, and I think I figured it out.
Okay.
Anyway, it's called 8-hour diet, which is not really a diet. It's more like fasting. I love it.
Kind of like intermittent fasting. I did not know what that meant. I didn't even know what intermittent was. But is this sort of like that?
Intermittent? No, it's not like that. It's like, basically, it's like teaching you not how to be a glutton, just eating all day. But from the time that you eat, first thing in the morning, to 8 hours after that, cutoff time is 8 hours after that. Rest of the time, you should be doing what you're supposed to be doing. Getting ready for bed, going to sleep.
Some more discipline, basically.
Right, getting ready for the next day instead of eating. That's our culture, in this country.
Yep, I live in the same country, I know. What has been really interesting to me, it's not really...
Go ahead.
It's not a obsession, but just me trying to be more focused with trying to write. I can't say I've been super disciplined this week, but I've been trying to like go other places, like go to a friend's house and write, or start reading books about how to plan for writing, for whatever I'm writing, which I don't like doing that, but I'm starting to do that more. So I guess that's what I would say. Like, my obsession has been just trying to do that, trying to stay productive in that way and be disciplined. So both of our obsessions is basically, well, one of them, her second one, and mine is basically about how to be more disciplined in different ways.
Did you visit your relatives?
Was I supposed to?
You have relatives who live near you.
I haven't visited any relatives.
Teach your children to visit their relatives.
I don't be...
Especially in a large family.
If I'm not...
Hours.
Okay. So, before we get started, what we're going to say is a whole argument about... Not argument, but, like, if you're not close to, like, certain family members, because you have a rather large family, so there's a lot of people you're not seeing often. Like, there's a whole debate that we do about that. I live near some relatives, but they're like not close to me, so it's kind of awkward to just be like, hey. But I digress. Now, can we
Go ahead. I want to hear this. Go ahead.
So we'll start in the topics for today. The topic today is all about dating, more specifically about, we were just talking about recently how the transition, like what that transition was like for my mother and for my sister and I when we were starting to get into dating. Now, for us, we didn't really date in like school, in high school. Like I dated one person, but you were like, she said it doesn't count. How does that not count?
I shouldn't have said that it doesn't count. It was actually, that experience when she was dating makes me think of stories that my grandparents used to tell when if a boy wanted to date a girl, he'd come meet her on the porch, and they would sit on the porch, and all the old folks would sit just inside and be looking out at them on the porch. It was kind of like that.
No.
It felt like that because his mother was always there and I was always there.
No,
so
first of all, that's not true.
Felt, but
this is what really happened. So the guy and I, we dated for like 3 months, and I was 16 because this was right after a church retreat. So I was 16 and he was 18, and the only thing she's talking about is the one time, which was kind of weird, like after church, because I met him in church, right? After church, the thing is, he didn't have a car. I didn't want to drive anyway, so of course I didn't have a car, and we were living in Georgia, by the way, by that time. But he didn't have a car, I didn't have a car, whatever. And we were like, his mother and my mother were friends, but that's not why we got together or anything. And for some reason, I think my mom and his mom had the great idea that we should all go to the movies together. The thing about it is that we went to the movies, me and him sat next to each other, and who do you think sat behind us?
I told you.
Like my mom and his mom, and it was weird. I'm like, okay. Like it was just, and he was like my first like boyfriend, so let alone like date in a way, I guess. So I just knew it was weird already anyway. Like that just didn't seem right. And then right after, we went to Cece's Pizza, all of us sitting at the same table. I mean, his mom was nice and everything, but it was just like, it was the weirdest thing to me. Mm-hmm. Not the weirdest, but it was like, okay. But yeah, that was one time after 3 months. Other than that, I don't know what she's referring to.
I think I've even learned a lesson from that. You only need one helicopter parent in this situation. Only one. Not two. The two was like, with the two of us looking over the two of you, I even felt like maybe this is just a little too much.
I don't really feel like it was you were being a helicopter parent.
Wait a minute, what's the definition?
Well, yeah, you kind of like have control of all the situation, but that was like one time, like out of any. I mean, part of the reason why we didn't like see each other a lot was because, well, he didn't have a car, and I wasn't. I did not have my license. I refused to have my license. I did not get my license until I was 19. Mm-hmm. But so that had nothing to do with. I don't think.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I would feel bad if I were,
a helicopter.
One half of the reason why you two. He was so cute. He was just adorable.
If anything, I was still in high school, and he went off to college in another state, and I was just like, oh, well, that doesn't sound right. So that didn't work.
But okay, so you brought up, I think you skipped over. You sort of skipped over a period of time in there, which was actually your first experience going out, which was traumatized. I'm saying actually, let me stop. Anyway, it put me through some emotions, and that's when weren't you 14? A friend from, am I getting a friend from school? Weren't you 14?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Oh no, maybe you were 16. Maybe it was just before we moved to Georgia.
What are you talking about?
It was a guy from high school. you're still friends with them. It was so cute. Anyway.
This was years later. She's talking about somebody that when you talking about B-name?
Yeah. See,
no, I didn't.
B-name.
I don't put names out there. No,
you don't have to.
We didn't.
No, what I'm just saying is
that was like years later, Ma.
We're talking about both of our perspectives, right? So I was terrified. Oh my gosh, my daughter's going out with the boy, and what am I supposed to do about this? And you didn't even bring up the fact. I'm glad you didn't, because that makes me feel better. That before he could even, they were going to a birthday party.
Ma, that was years later. You're talking about something completely different.
How was that years later?
I didn't, because that was like when I was 18 or 19. It was like or 17. No. But it was, I was already in Georgia by then.
See, y'all, okay.
I didn't know him when I was here. Okay.
Parents.
No, you getting...
Take note. She doesn't even remember when you were not 17. It was the first date you had ever gone out on. The very first.
Because he had to drive. We're the same age. I'm telling you.
So it must have been just before we moved there. I think it must have been when you're 16.
I didn't know him then, Ma. I literally didn't. Yes. I literally did not know him yet. I met him on... So this is what happened. So I had befriended this guy on Facebook that had similar friendships with a similar circle of people that I knew here back at my previous high school before we moved to Georgia. And that was when I was 16, but I already moved to Georgia already. But I realized I hadn't known him. He just seemed like familiar, but that's how we became friends. We did not go to that birthday party until I was like 18 or 19.
That doesn't sound right.
It is. Or like after high school.
I'll tell you why it doesn't sound right. Because at 18, you're an adult. And would it make sense that I sat you both down and talked to you both for 2 hours?
Yes.
And here I'm revealing how frantic I was as a parent. I spoke to you both for 2 hours and you were 18?
Yes, Ma.
No.
Yes.
No. That wouldn't have been me.
Ma,
you would have been off at college anyway. No,
you didn't talk to us frantically for 2 hours.
I didn't say frantically. I said I was frantic and I spoke to you. See, you know, your kids don't listen.
Your memory is
children need to listen. I don't care what age they are. They need to listen.
First of all,
I said, I'm trying to respect you. Respect me, though. I said I was frantic. Emotional. In my heart, I was frantic about the safety and well-being of one of my two treasures, my two daughters, okay? Parents should appreciate and love their children and treat them as their treasures, right? Oh, I don't know why I'm asking you. Should treat them as your children as your treasures. You know, just the best of you. Even if they're acting up, treat them like they're the best of you. They'll grow into it. But, you okay? But, I forgot what I was gonna say. Anyway,
this was after. First of all, it was after I met Andrew. Oh, well, he don't know who.
I didn't do that.
He's my first boyfriend when I was 16. Well, anyway, the whole point is, I met him afterward. Man, this was I met him and we met like. I'm just gonna air it. Like we met on Facebook just as friends, and then like later on we met up because we already knew each other and we were like really cool. Okay. And so it would have been years later.
So was it a winter break?
It was a winter time. I mean,
okay, because it was blizzarding. It was.
Because
I didn't know that boy could drive.
No, because I literally remember that's when we moved back in with Grandma. So it has been right after I graduated high school. Because after I graduated high school, we moved back. And we stayed with Grandma.
No.
Ma, I'm telling you.
No, that's not. We need to get your sister in here.
Giselle,
she'll have every detail. That's who she does.
I'm gonna ask.
I tell her all the time she should be an attorney. She should be a detective.
I should ask my cousin because my cousin was there, and my cousin was the one that got in trouble. Oh. She came with us. Anyway, we're gonna keep on. Basically, that's what the whole thing is. The whole point is like Well, number one, obviously we have two different accounts of everything.
And I'm right. I think
You're
I'm
not
right. I'm pretty sure I'm right. When I think of you at 18, me.
You were kind of
questioning this. You at 18? Yeah, I would ask him some questions, but not for 2 hours.
Ma, you did not question him for 2
You're an
hours.
adult. What am I?
You did not question him for 2 hours.
You two sat there for 2 hours. I'm not kidding.
It was
was
not
2 hours.
Oh my
you
God.
Know, maybe it's a.
We should
that's
ask
okay.
Grandma.
That's okay. It
Grandma
just makes
was
me
there.
look like my child still loves me. She doesn't remember when I questioned her and this boy for 2 hours.
Grandma was there. We should ask Grandma. Grandma be like. Grandma probably don't remember.
She doesn't remember. It's like I'm attacked on both sides by my kids, by my mother. No, nobody knows. I know.
Anyway, how did you feel? Because we really didn't start dating. Other than the guy that I dated in high school, we didn't really date until we were already in school. And I mean, and Giselle and I were living at home at the time while in college. Both of us, we both commuted I commuted 3 out of the 4 years. And so, and during that time, I was dating, I was in a relationship with a particular guy it was pretty long term. So, and I know there were some challenges, some things you didn't like. So how did you feel? Because we had a conversation about it earlier a little bit.
Well, we talked about that period of time. You see how I felt. You know how I felt about it. I think I made it very clear, right? How I felt. But you were an adult, right?
But it didn't matter because...
Just yes or no. You were an adult at the time, right?
Yeah, but like, for example, well, you mentioned how, yeah, I was not an adult at the time. And that's why you said questioning something that for 2 hours, I felt like that wasn't necessarily... I might have been like 17 or 18. But it was like right after...
Mm-hmm.
Or it might have been right before I went to college. Because, I started college late. Like, I was waitlisted for the spring.
Late. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I started a semester late. So I started in the spring. So it could have been that, too. That actually makes a lot of sense, honestly.
I don't think that's it.
Because we literally moved back. We drove back down to Georgia in January. Okay, we're just going to keep it. But, yeah, and he is up here. But, yeah, but, like... yeah, but there was another guy, and like that guy that I just mentioned, we were talking about going to a birthday party. I wasn't dating him. I was interested in him. But it wasn't like we were just friends at the end of the day. But when I did start dating, you were kind of, that's what I'm asking. What did you feel?
About what? You said... Okay, look.
Okay, when I
am at the age where I need you to be specific, because there's
okay. What about
experienced.
when I started dating Andrew? Like you were talking about before. Back when the difference in when we were children to now being at an age where we go through puberty, and then I started dating someone. I dated someone briefly, but still for about a few months. How did that feel?
Okay. Just to be serious, and let me try to be serious for a moment. Not like I have to, but so I think because I raised you and your sister as a single parent, of course with help and support from our families, I felt like I had to be doubly protective of both of you. But at the same time, I feel like maybe I kind of kept you both in a cocoon, and like you were encapsulated, where you just, you were just my sweet little girls. But then puberty started rolling its ugly head. Lord have mercy.
Oh, that was intense.
It messed up my world. With my daughters.
In what way?
Puberty.
In what way?
You're just, I think, I saw you both blooming physically. And then, of course, the those things that happen in puberty with young ladies. You know.
Are you talking about dating or
no,
body
not
changes?
even. I'm talking about your body changes and functions.
You just glossing over. Like, what people?
Because people are gonna look at this video and go, "What?"
Yeah, we don't.
Or you know, I don't want to be rated. I know this is all natural.
Just say body.
It's all
changes.
natural,
Just
but the things that a girl, the changes she goes through to become a young lady, as a preteen, that it was stressful to me because I was just so I had already made myself into this mama bear. You know what I mean? Like I had to protect you both, but you were getting to the point where you want to be a little more independent, and then your body changing. I'm like, I can't watch you. I realized I could not be there all of the time with you. And that's when I started the crying, which I'm glad you don't remember, because I would go to my room and cry because I knew that my daughters were to the point where they were starting to look like, they were on it was a signal to me that they were becoming young women. The path has started, and that over a period of just a few years, they would become young women, and they would be adults, and they would be not only legally making their own decisions, but they're stepping away from me and not always, I'm saying but parents know that when your child is always asking you questions and depending on your answers, it's just so cute, It's like, and they believe what you say, but then now that they're influenced by people from school and just, I'll say people from school, public school, private school, whatever, they're getting influences from all these other people. Now you're saying, don't do this because blah, blah, blah. And then they say, why? Crushing. That's crushing. So I was just, when you both were going through puberty, I was just like, that life is gone. It's going to be a hard road.
It's interesting.
And I just had to try to, it was hard learning to navigate you both growing up, being independent, going through puberty, stretching your wings, testing the limits. Go ahead.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I think, when we were teenagers, it was hard for different reasons because, the independence thing, I think, was a big thing, and there were tension. There was tension in the household. All three of us, 3 women in the household, and somehow you talk about us being very sweet and all this, but Giselle and I are very, like, I feel like a bit strong-willed. A bit.
Is that weird? Go ahead.
I don't know.
I'd like to hear more about that.
But I don't know. Like we have different ideas about different things, so we would just get on each other's, like, we just argue, like, as usual. But it's funny because I really feel like the whole dating thing didn't become, like, something that was a big deal. Not until we were both out of grade school, like we were in college, because that was when, it's one thing when we're in high school, but it's another thing where, you have a child, I mean, your child is no longer a child that's over 18, going to school, but staying in your house, but then wants to go out and date or, like, stay out all night. Because I remember, but that's the thing, though, because I feel like you have more of a problem then, because we were like, I'm like, oh, I want come back. I'm not going to be back for a day. I'll come back tomorrow. Whereas if I'm staying at my own place, if I had a place at the time, it wouldn't have been a big deal because you wouldn't have known about it. But since we were staying with you, we're like, think about what your sister would think about. You have influence over your younger sister, and that wouldn't be a good. That's not a good look or something. A good influence. That's not been a good influence.
Right. I stand on those words. I mean,
Okay.
they're probably not my words verbatim, but
No.
the idea is I stand on that because, I mean, first of all, you being the oldest, you have direct influence on your sister. Just like me being her mother, I had direct influence. Being both of your moms, I have direct influence on you. So you both were at an age where you weren't necessarily adults. And what if I decided I was going to go stay out all night? You were old enough to cook for yourselves, take care of yourselves for overnight. I mean, Mama gonna stay out all night. No.
You could have.
No.
You could have.
No.
Ma, you were grown.
No. Of course I'm grown. I was grown then, but I respected both of you. And no, I was not going to do that. No. And that I was not going to do that. And I was not going to, by not doing that, I wanted you to see what was respectful. I was being respectful to you both. And that's not how I wanted you both to,
See,
I feel like it's being respectful.
See, the thing is, I think
what my mama, excuse me. Let me just say one more thing. I was raised in a single family household, and it would have really hurt my feelings if my mother had taken off for a day or two.
It wasn't a day. No, it would be literally.
Yeah, it was just like, you can cook for yourself. Go ahead.
But okay, that's different if we were kids, if we were underage, high school, middle school kids. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. Like you were dependent on you, or if you, and it would make, to me, it would make more sense because of, obviously as children, well, you're in your household, but also we're still children at the time. Mm-hmm. But as an adult, I feel like maybe there could have been more compromises. And yeah, maybe just saying like, oh, I'm just staying out that night isn't, just throwing out on you is a bit much. But at the same time, if we're like 18, 19, 20, 21, you can't expect us not to go out or be out late at some point. Maybe if it would have been like, oh, if I was out and I would say, okay, we're out a bit late, I'll be coming home at this time. Would you want, maybe even the conversation say, will this be okay if I come in at this time? If not, then I'll come back in the morning. Because sometimes if you go out with your friends, sometimes you're not. When you were in college, mm-hmm. Have you ever stayed out all night or like end up spending the night over your friend's house and things of that nature?
I had, and I wouldn't even say it was probably a handful of times because it would cause friction mm-hmm. in the household. First of all, you show up in the middle of the night and everybody else has been sleeping or they're getting ready for work the next day, and it becomes a disruption to that person. And let me point out another thing. You have your own home. You want to know that it's secure and that you're, I know you're grown, but even being grown, sometimes our kids don't think about security and they just kind of forget things like locking doors and, things like that. And when you've lived outside of the home mm-hmm. in your own space and then you come back into the home, it's like you're as a guest. And would you go to visit friends or, be a guest in someone else's home and just come in any time of, night or whatever? I think it would be an inconvenience. So no, I would not. I would have felt uncomfortable, and I just think it's called being considerate.
Well, that was just one example. That was something that I think what could have helped because dating. I'll go out and everything. I honestly don't think you were very hands on with me dating. Like I don't think you
hands on. What
I have had experiences. I have friends, one or two friends who say this particular friend, like her parents are more. Her mother was more will ask a lot more questions, and I felt like you didn't ask a lot of questions. Like you met like people that I did,
for
but
2
you
hours. I questioned for 2 hours.
I don't think that. I don't remember that for the 2
I
hours.
should have made it 4 hours.
I think no. Part of the issue, because when we're talking about that situation where it was that birthday party, part of the issue was, it wasn't 2 hours though. But you were like, it was like winter time, and you know it was nighttime too. It was evening, and then what ended up happening is we had one of my cousins come with us who was on punishment on top of that to go to a party, and her mother was upset. But yeah, it was definitely. I think there was just something about communication and trust and having certain conversations that we just didn't have. It was just like we just ended up arguing about it. But it is, yeah. But we're on the 30-minute mark, and maybe we can even continue this conversation in another session. But do you have any last words that you want to say?
Well, while you were talking, I just thought, just want to let you all know that I think that we still had a pretty good, mother-daughter relationship. I think so with my daughters. I think they know that I love them. And no, I'm not. I've never painted myself as being perfect. And I made sure my children knew that I didn't think of myself as perfect and that I did not have all of the answers. And, there were times where I felt like we, look for answers together. And that's not an easy process, but it's also, I'll say it's an honest process, right? So, I love my daughters. I think, they're just the best blessing a mom could have. Look, she's laughing, but see, they're not so. See, anyway, I love my daughters, and yeah, I'm proud of them. Okay, go ahead.
So so we probably will continue this conversation in a future session, because obviously there's a lot to say, and it's only 30 minutes. It's not a long time. But yeah, so you can catch us in the next session. We'll post next week again. You can follow us on our social medias. My Instagram is Curious Bookster, and that's all I do in this.
You do so much more. Come on.
And I write, but nobody sees it yet. We gonna talk about it one day. Maybe that'll be a topic. Anything about you, social medias, your business, anything that you want to talk about? Okay, so my business is called On Point Interventions. I work with young people at the high school level most of the time. They always come to me and want advice, or I'm just listening. But anyway, so I'm on Instagram. It's On Point Interventions, and my focuses are focuses. I need to look that up. Anyway, but I have more than one. So I try to get my young people into different things. Like right now, I'm trying to focus on community service, especially now during COVID-19. We just found out that the place where we live was a part of the underground, was at some point a part of the Underground Railroad. So I took one of my students to hear about that. Anyway, I'm wrapping up. Go ahead. Okay. Well, we'll see you guys next week, and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.